So I believe that there is one infallible cause of success, and that is if you can figure out what you can do better than anybody else and then do it. You cannot help but be successful. So I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes telling you a couple of stories about the birth of UGG and building in the early days of that brand and weave that back into the theme that I've just developed. So let's go back with me to Perth 1979. I just graduated as an accountant and quit the same day. And I was drifting for a month or two until I discovered a brand new album. I ripped off the cellophane wrapping and put it on. It was Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. And the second song, the words that got me were, "No one told you when to run, you missed the starting gun." And I just stopped dead. To all my friends who are tracking off to partnerships in the accounting business, and other friends who started businesses out of high school 10 years previously, and I'd been running on the spot for 10 years. And so the next couple of days I was doing a lot of meditating, and I remember thinking one day, oh my God, all the big trends are coming out of California. Levi jeans, waterbeds, all the surf brands. So I am going to go to California, I'm going to find the next big thing, I'm going to bring it back to Australia and make my fortune. So within 3 weeks, it was very quick, I arrived with a suitcase and a surfboard and rented a house in Santa Monica because I always wanted to surf in Malibu. And so I spent the first month in my time in America in Malibu, making a ton of friends but not finding the next big thing. And then another month went by, and another month. And it was one day I was sitting on the beach and I was pulling on the sheepskin boots because it was winter time, and I thought, oh my God, there's no sheepskin boots in America. And it was like this great aha, and I looked at my buddy and said, Doug, we've got to go into business, man. We've got to be instant millionaires, So we called up a manufacturer back in Australia, and to cut a long story short, we got to be the distributors for his product, and we sent $500 down and got 6 pairs, which is for samples. And when they arrived, I'm assuming this is the right, there we go. That is the first sample boot that we ever brought in. You can see the yellow stuff in the front here is glue. All the way down the bottom is glue. There's no binding, there's no heel counters. It was like so crude. It's hard to believe that this product sold $1.5 billion worth of business. Wow. But we went on the road, or Doug went on the road. He was going to be the salesman. I was too scared. I was an accountant. And he came back a month later, or a week later, and he had his manila envelope full of about 150 business cards of every single shoe retailer in Southern California. And he said, Brian, they say I'm crazy trying to sell sheepskin in California. But I understood the logic of that, but it wasn't right because Australia's climate is identical to California. So that'd be something else, and as good entrepreneurs do, they pivot. When you hit a wall, you have to figure out what is the way around it. And I was figuring out, well, why do all my friends up at Malibu think this is the best thing in the world? And it struck me, they all surfed. All the buddies had been to Australia and come back with 4 or 5 pairs of boots for them. And so UGG was really well known in the surf community. So Doug and I switched gears and we started going after the surf shops. And I can remember driving into Con Surfboards in Santa Monica, and I had some Adidas bag with the samples, and I opened them and he goes, oh man, UGG boots, they're great, what are you doing with those? And I said, well, we're thinking of importing them into America. Oh my God, you're going to make a fortune, they're the best. All my buddies have got them, they bought some back for me, and next door the same thing, and the next door all the way down to Newport, Laguna, San Diego, and Doug was getting a similar thing up in the San Fernando Valley. And so we regrouped and decided, okay, this is going to be a killer business. We never stopped to ask ourselves that we hadn't asked for an order. Why should we? We had no inventory. So So we decided we're going to be instant millionaires. So luckily we raised $20,000 from some roommates' friends, and without a business plan, sent 15 grand down to Australia. And right at the beginning of December, 500 pairs of boots arrived, and we stored them in the third bedroom of my house in Santa Monica, which is now the warehouse. And Doug filled up his car, and I filled up my van, and we headed off back out to the retailers. And I remember going back down to Conserve Floors, and I opened up this kind of huge bag with all the colours and styles. I said, "Okay, George, how many do you want?" And he goes, "Oh, well done, Brian. But we couldn't sell them out of our store. We just sell surfboards and trunks and sandals, and they're way too expensive. You should go to the shoe stores." Oh, shit. Off to the next door, almost identical, all the way down through the Gurner, 7 years ago. Doug was getting the same incentives for value. And we regrouped and back at the warehouse in Santa Monica, and we tallied up the orders and delivered them. And here is the first deposit slip of the very first year's sales of our $1,000, 28 pairs, which was humiliating and very disappointing. But the lesson I've learned over many years of building businesses is that there's not a company on the New York Stock Exchange listing page in the Wall Street Journal that didn't have to go through $1,000. Every business. And that became a theme that I put in my book, which luckily you have a copy for everybody here this afternoon. It's called The Birth of a Brand, and the theme of this book is that you can't give birth to adults. Every business starts with someone conceiving it, and it can be a sitcom on TV, a sandwich shop, it doesn't matter. Every single business starts with someone conceiving it and giving birth, which is, arguably the birth was buying 6 pairs of samples. And then business just lies there, and lies there, and there's no amount of jiggling the cradle or feeding or urging. This infant cannot get up and go to college. It has to be an infant. And unfortunately, this is where most entrepreneurs starting out give up, because they don't see any action and they think it's failing. But if you can just hang in there and nurture it long enough, as long as you believe in it, it'll start toddling, which is cool. First customers are buying it, magazines writing articles about it, and it's starting to get traction, and that goes very quickly into the youth, which is where you have consistent customers, production's working great, the accounting, the shipping and receiving is fantastic, and that's the best phase of every business. You can run a 20 million business in that infant, in the youth phase. But if it's a really, really good service or a really good product like UGG was, you're going to hit the teenage years. And you remember when you wanted to be at every party in town? Right? Well, this is just the same. We wanted to be in every trade show, we wanted to be in every mass retailer, and it's such dangerous thinking because I lost control a couple of times as a business because I was trying to be too big too quick. And it was that teenage phase that got me. And but anyway, the accountants come put the control down, and then it becomes a mature business. So I'm going to share with you now my what I call my tadpole story. That would have been a good time to give up. Got 28 pairs of sales, but I couldn't. I had 470 something left in the warehouse, and all my investors' money tied up. So I had to go on the road. Doug got another job. I started going to swap meets and street fairs, but the best retailer that I had was the back of my van at Malibu Beach. And even if the surf was shitty, I still went because people were always expecting me to be there. And so sales that next year were about $5,000 for the rest of that season. And so I got a summer job, and so next fall I'm going to advertise. So I hired some, good-looking models and posed them on the beach at Windansea down with perfect boots, like front and center in the ad, and perfect clothing and perfect hair, and ran those ads in Surfer and Action Sports View, and the sales went to like 20 grand. I couldn't figure it out. So the next year, I got another summer job. Then next year, I hired better-looking models, a more expensive photographer, and I put them on the beach at Windansea with perfect hair and the boots front and center, and sales went to like $25,000, $30,000. And I couldn't figure out what's wrong, because it should have been much more than that. And it was until I had a beer with a buddy of mine who owns South Coast Surf Shop in Ocean Beach, and he goes, "Oh, shut up, Brian." And he called out to the back to these little kids, "You guys come out here, what do you think of Uggs?" And all these little grommets come out, 30-year-olds. They go, "Oh, those Uggs, man, they're so fake. Have you seen their ads? Those models can't surf." And instantly, I realised I'd saying the wrong message to my target market. And when I looked at these ads, I go, "Oh my God, that's so fake." And instantly, again, pivoting like all good entrepreneurs do, I called up Pete Townend, who was a former world surf champion, and he was running the National Scholastic Surf Association in Orange County. And I said, "Pete, do you have any young kids that are going to turn pro soon? Because I've got no money, but I can pay them no boots." So he gave me two kids, Ted Robinson and Mike Parsons. And so we outfitted them with boots, and instead of hiring an expensive photographer, I took my little Canon short shot. We went surfing. We went down to Black's Beach, and which is an iconic walk, about a mile. We went to Trestles, another iconic walk. And anyone, I knew that what I wanted to do was try and get these little kids into the image. And I knew that any kid that reads Surfer magazine would die to be walking down that road to Blacks with Mike Parsons, And so we ran the ads in October, November, December, sales $240,000. Why? Because I matched the image and I got people drawn in by emotion. And it's a really important lesson for you. If you, you're all seasoned businessmen, I can see, but the theme is still, you don't really advertise your products. You advertise the benefits of the product. The benefit here was, "Oh, shit, I could be like Mike Parsons." Right? But if you have like a software that saves money, or saves time, for instance, you don't put a photograph of your software in an ad. You put a guy in the Bahamas drinking a beer and seeing all the money, all the time he saved from your product. So you're always selling the benefits. So I'm going to give you two other examples. Well, the first, the theme of this whole tadpole story is that the quickest way to become a frog is to live every day happily as a tadpole. Because you can't accelerate time. And I'm going to give you a couple of other really quick examples, then I'll finish. When, at the same time I was starting UGG, there was a company up in Oregon importing these nylon running shoes from Japan. And they were advertising in the running magazines, they were advertising in the athletic departments, trying to get all the schools to buy their products, for the athletic departments. And they were struggling year after year after year with getting no traction, but all that time they were getting better and better and better at what they were doing. They were getting feedback from the consumers and fixing up the bugs. And then after about 6 years, the sport of jogging takes off, right? And that was when they changed their name to Nike. And so all you got these huge number of consumers now wanting to get running shoes, and where do they go? To the company that's been out there advertising and getting their product better and better and better. And suddenly Nike gets sucked into this vortex of millions and then hundreds of millions and then the billions, right? At the same time, there was a company in Santa Monica. And they were importing these little kid leather shoes. They've been doing it for about 10 years. Their market was dance. They were going out to all the dance clubs, the dance magazines, and the athletic departments trying to get on the cheerleaders in all the schools. And guess what? The sport of aerobics takes off. And obviously that was Reebok. And Reebok got sucked into this vortex of millions and hundreds of millions, and they went to the billions. And why was that? It was because they had been the ones getting better and better and better at their niche. And then when the market turned, then they went along with it. So to wrap this all up and bring it back into the theme that I talked about, when last year, the Footwear News magazine did their 80th anniversary issue, and they did a big article on the 80 most influential people in the footwear in the past 80 years, and I'm pleased to say I made the cut on that one. And I was wondering, why did that happen? Because when I started UGG, I knew nothing about importing and freight and customs. But by the time I finished 18 years later and sold the company, you had these incredible freight rates, and I was air freighting containers into Australia, from Australia into Santa Monica every Christmas. And when I started UGG, I knew nothing about footwear design, but by the time I sold it, I developed like 8 new, completely different styles and all the different colorations with hundreds of combinations. And when I started, I knew nothing about sheepskin industry and the tanning process. And but by the time I sold the company, we were buying futures of sheepskins before the lambs were even born. and I could tell when boots arrived, I could tell from the texture and the coloration and the patterns if that sheep had been through a drought or a wet season, right? Just from the texture. So I learned all about that. And I knew nothing about marketing. Remember those first ads? They were bigger turn-offs than a turn-on. But that exercise turned me into, changed my passion from an accountant to a marketer, and I just became a student of marketing, and that's the main reason I became as big as it did. And when I started out, I knew nothing about retail. I didn't know the difference between big box and specialty and markups and keystones and all these return issues. But by the time I finished, I can remember the last year I was playing golf in the country club in New Jersey with the president of Kinney Shoes, the biggest retailer in the world. And I can remember thinking, how the hell did this happen? And the answer is that I had become the best in my little niche, right? The footwear industry is this big. My little niche was this big, but I had become the best at what I did in that little niche. And that was the true reason for my success. So in closing, I just want to urge you all to enjoy every day as a tadpole and carry on, either start or carry on. I think in this room it's mostly carry on, figuring out how to be the best at what you do, and great success will come your way.